Angel's Egg is one of my all-time favorite anime, and to properly explain why is a near impossible task for myself. Everyone who I've ever spoken with views this movie in a different light than me. With no clear-cut answer to what this film is truly about, everyone comes out with a different outlook and opinion on this film. But one thing most tend to agree on is there is religious meaning behind the film, but that doesn't mean it's straightforward in any way, quite the contrary. Recently, after rewatching the film for the 6th time, I found myself really hooked on the idea of faith, and thus sparked the creative flair within my mind to write this script. This 1 hour and 11-minute film takes a viewer on a near-silent journey with minimal dialogue and use of sound in any way. When the sound is present, it's used to build on the already impressive atmosphere with carefully planned out sound effects and backing tracks. The entire story is told from this atmosphere surrounding our two characters who are known as boy and girl. Within our own culture, religion is a strong staple. Whether you believe or don't believe in whatever religion, one thing is generally common between all faiths, which is the act of believing in something greater than ourselves. And I want to make this clear to avoid any possible drama. I have no issues with anyone believing or not believing in any one religion, so try to keep the religious debates out of the comment section, please and thank you. But a common thing religion is used for is to answer the things that we don't really understand ourselves and this blind faith that goes into it. There are countless things in our world and universe that is hard to explain, and many go to religion for that answer, as trusting there is something greater and more powerful than us with no defined proof can lead to peace of mind when trying to wrap your head around this ever-expanding universe. And Angel's Egg uses the same faith to tell one of the most unique stories in anime that I've ever seen. If you were to sum up the story to the best of one's ability, you could explain Angel's Egg as such. We follow a girl who does nothing but fill urns of water while protecting an egg from those who wish to harm it, believing that it will one day hatch. And that sounds dry and boring, right? Yet this simple story becomes one of the most unique experiences I think anime has to offer. This man seems to represent non-believers, one who sticks to the facts of life and what we see around us, doesn't put his faith into something without logic to back it up, someone who would rather have an answer now than believe the answer will come later on. There's very little dialogue within this film, but the lines that are there explain something pretty interesting about this egg that the girl carries with her. She seems to treasure it as this precious item, something that no one should damage, and seems to put her entire faith within this egg and how it will one day hatch. This man, however, wants to open the egg and see what's inside. These two different ideals seem quite basic, but in actuality it's the difference between a believer and a non-believer. This girl believes that the egg will hatch, while this man thinks you shouldn't blindly think that, but instead see what is inside. The thing inside could already be dead, it may never hatch, it may need to be cracked open to be released. Or maybe cracking it open would kill what is inside. But we may never know if we blindly support the idea of it may or may not hatch in this dark and gloomy world around them. Whereas she will do everything in her power to stop all from harming this egg and believes with every ounce of her life that the egg will in fact hatch. Put it simply, the man represents an atheist while the girl represents a believer in faith. What seems to be inside this egg is a bird who we can see within this scene, who represents life outside this world. We really don't know where this film takes place, if it's on Earth, purgatory, the afterlife, it could be numerous things. But the bird which she believes represents the egg, or is in fact inside this egg, and this represents life outside the world where they currently stand. The entire concept of her carrying and cradling this egg feels like the same belief of numerous things within religion to even the afterlife. How this girl will blindly fill up jars of water, gain nothing out of it, but will do it day after day, because she believes this is what she must do, while holding this egg close and protecting it at all costs, believing this bird will hatch from this egg and bring life, while he sees no reason to believe that this egg will hatch, that the bird is real. Why waste time on filling jars of water and gain nothing out of it? The film means something different to each person, as there is no defined ending, story, or really path that it takes. But for me, this film represents the difference between a believer of God versus someone who dismisses the idea in a place that seemingly represents purgatory. This power of faith can hold on to some, or even shield someone, is something that is both remarkable and depressing, depending on perspective. This girl believes this egg will hatch. She doesn't want to open it up to see whether what's inside even truly exists, if it's already dead, or anything else. Whereas this skeptical man, someone who dismisses faith, would rather know what's inside one way or another, even if it means hurting her and her own faith. If we were to ask many this question, would you rather wait to see if the egg will hatch, or break it open right now to know if whatever is inside truly is there? Many, if not most, would hold on to the faith that it would indeed hatch. This trust that something will happen can provide a sense of comfort, to which this girl uses this all throughout the film. She cradles this egg and believes the sound of breathing that she hears as she presses her ear to this egg is the sound of the bird breathing, whereas the man knows it's her own breathing that she hears. The sound of wings flapping is the sound of the bird dreaming of flying, to which the man knows it's the sound of the blowing wind around them. We can all assume the man is right. Everything she is hearing is in fact just outside interference to even her own being, and more than likely nothing is inside it, and if it is, it's probably already dead. But many would feel the same way if put into her shoes. This blind faith that can shield one from the horrors of the outside world, to the comfort that it can provide even the loneliest of hearts. The boy and the girl, the warrior and the believer, represent humanity and how both sides feel, those of faith and those without. It may be a basic concept at first glance, but this simple design results in a very unique character-driven story in a very dark and eerie world. To me, this film represents a believer of God and one without faith, and how different their journeys take them while going through purgatory. I started off by explaining what this film could be summed down to as a girl filling jars of water while protecting an egg, yet the film manages to tell a much more deep and compelling story to me than just that. The film uses it to make you think at every scene. What are these floating creatures, and what do they mean? Why did the director choose to make this shot look like that? What is this world, and what is the point? The power of animation as a form of storytelling is to do things you typically can't do in live action, and this near-silent film creates a world so immersive and massive that to one person looking in will be a different film than what I see. The fact that there is nearly no script to this film, that everything that is told is done through visuals, is a more impressive feat to me than that of a well-polished script. Because even though this film may have no defined meaning, the level of care that went into every scene in this eerie world makes it so nothing feels random or just there to be there. It creates its own story in its own, and will be viewed different for each person watching, because this creation takes a life of its own and creates one of the most engaging stories I've ever witnessed from a premise that is nearly non-existent. One of my favorite theories on what this film is representing with its story is that the idea is about reincarnation and the path that a girl goes through holding her faith closely while being tested at the same time, with a Christ-like figure who lost his memories and seemingly his faith. After remembering his task, he destroys the egg, releasing the girl from her test and destroying her innocence, and thus results in her becoming a symbol of faith, as you can see with her being a statue on the floating ark near the end, and the many eggs that are spawned after her death. You can view the film 100 ways, good or bad, and each time I watch this film I have a different viewpoint. And it's why I love this film so much, and why I appreciate that it was always left open for the viewer, and not the director, to figure out what it truly means. To properly explain why I love Angel's Egg, I think is a near impossible task. There's so much to love about this film, but something I can explain is why I love how the film shows how a person of faith differs so drastically from one without. And never does it feel like it's trying to say one is right or wrong, but rather showcase the power both hold. I love Angel's Egg, and it'll always be a film that I'll rewatch. I wish more anime would take this artistic approach, as there really hasn't been a film since this aired in 1985 that I've seen that has hooked me the same way that this has. Studio Dean truly created a masterpiece. But that's all for this video. I've wanted to make a video on Angel's Egg for a pretty long time, but I found it to be a near impossible task. Luckily, after my last viewing, I got a spark of inspiration. I'm sure I'll see comments telling me I'm wrong and this film is actually saying this or it means this, but to those commenters I say, everyone will view this wonderful film in a different way. In the same way opinions on anime are never above the other, opinions on what this film means are exactly the same. Let me know your thoughts on Angel's Egg or my video down in the comment section below. I'm sure many of my subscribers have yet to see this film, but if anything, I hope I showed you something interesting on a very classic film that I believe all should watch. For being released in 1985, I still think it looks damn beautiful. And before you leave, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see content like this and so much more. And if you like what you see here and you want to go the extra mile for as little as $1 a month, then head on over to my Patreon and pick yourself up a perk as well. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.